Okay guys, so the other day you read and answered questions in chapter 4, lesson 4, how do humans impact ecosystems? So today, what we're going to do is we are going to go over those questions and I'm going to give you the answers. Your questions are the same as mine, but your answers may be a little different, and that's okay. These are just the answers that I came up with. Your answers, like I said, may be a little different, but I'm going to give you my answers and maybe some other options that your answers might be, and we'll take a look, okay? So number 1, it asks you to infer. It says, describe how chemicals dumped in a river might affect the organisms living in it. So the chemicals might kill the organisms, it might make them sick. You could have wrote that it would harm them, it could hurt them, things like that, okay? Number 2, it was you had to hypothesize. You were rating a hypothesis. That means that my answers are going to be way different than your answers, or they could be the same. Everyone might have something different, and that's okay, because it's a hypothesis. A hypothesis is not wrong. So what are 3 items that should not be placed in the trash and dumped in landfills? Paint, chemicals, plastic, batteries shouldn't be put in the trash. They should be disposed of in a different way. And you might have had something different, so that's okay if you did. I will take a look at those and see what you guys wrote. Okay, but go ahead and look at your answers, look at mine, and let's move on. So on the next page, we answered question number 3. Number 3 said, describe how the zebra mussels might affect the clam they are growing on. So remember, zebra mussels were a non-native species at one point. And non-native species we talked about is a plant or animal that doesn't naturally grow in an ecosystem, and they're brought into that ecosystem. So the zebra mussels might eat the food that the clam needs, or it could grow on the clam and it could harm the clam that way. It could take up the space that the clam needs. It could take the food. It could prey on the clam. So any of those answers would be fine. Now take a look at question number 4. It says it's another hypothesis. So your answer will probably be different than mine. And that's okay because it's a hypothesis. So number 4 says, why do you think the population of a species brought into a new area might grow quickly? They're a new species, so they don't have many predators yet. Or maybe they'll just thrive in that area because they're getting the resources they need. Okay. So if you think about it, if it's new to that area, nothing knows what it is yet, so nothing can prey on it, nothing can hunt it yet. So it's going to grow, it's going to really flourish and really do well in a new area. You could pause the video and switch up your answers, or take a minute and look those over. And then let's move on to the next page. So number 5 says, describe how fishing licenses might help regulate overfishing. So they control the number of people who can fish legally. Okay, a fishing license controls the number of people who can fish legally, and then that way, when you're out fishing, you're fishing legally. And then sometimes there's something called a game warden that will stop you and make sure that you don't overfish, you don't have too many fish on your boat. Once you get a fishing license, you can only fish for so many fish. You can't go over a certain number of fish, things like that. So that is number 5. They control the number of people who can fish legally. What are the ways that people can protect the environment? There were 2 ways we talked about, and they can practice regulation and conservation. And remember, we talked about them up at the top. Regulation puts a limit on how many animals a person can hunt or fish. And then conservation is an attempt to preserve or protect an environment from harmful changes. So remember, sometimes we, in the last video, I talked about sometimes there's something called like a conservation club, or there's different conservations in certain places that keep certain populations of animals safe. So that's what that is. And then the last question is, what is the consequence of bringing a non-native species into an ecosystem? And the consequence for that is it can harm the native species already living there. And the ways that it can harm it is it can take its food, it can take its space, it can be toxic to that native species living there. Okay? So it can cause problems to the native species living there. So for instance, if I take a certain berry bush and bring it into a forest, and this berry bush is not native to the forest, and these woodland animals start eating the berries off the bush, then what would happen if, let me try this real quick. Let's see if you guys can see me. Oh, I'm upside down. Hey, so if I bring, this is so cool, you guys can see me now. Hey guys. So if I bring a non-native berry bush into a forest, okay, and I bring that berry bush in there, and all of a sudden these forest animals start eating the berry bush, what would happen to those forest animals if that berry bush is actually toxic to them? It's going to harm those animals. They can either get really sick and the population is going to start dying off, or they're just going to die right away, okay? So bringing in a non-native species or a non-native plant, a non-native anything into any type of ecosystem that it doesn't belong in can harm what's already there, okay? Those are all of the answers to the questions in the book. If you need to fix any of your answers, or if you have questions on any of your answers, please let me know. Email me or private message me and say, Ms. Cup, can you check my answer for number 5 or number 6 or number 7? Whatever questions you guys have questions on, let me know. Private message me. I can directly look at yours. I'm going to look over some of them, like number 2 and number 4, the ones where you have to hypothesize. I'm going to take a look at those ones. But if you guys have any questions on any of them, please feel free to private message me. If not, I hope you have a great day and have fun working on the human impact research project. That'll be really fun. So make sure you guys watch that video of me explaining that to you and start researching that one. All right? Have a good day, guys.